What's up, everyone? Welcome to probably the 30th creator to make this video, but I still wanted to get my thoughts out on all of the brand new heresy specific weapons. There's honestly quite a lot. I think there's 10 of them that we got to go through, so I'm going to try to get through these a little bit faster than the vlog one, because you saw that video was like 20 some minutes long. So these are just going to be the roles I'm personally looking out for, the roles that are generally just going to be good. So starting off with the brand new grenade launcher, the Psychopomp. But real quick, I guess we do need to go over the origin trait. So the Willing Vessel, so whenever you deal damage, it's going to grant you increased stability, handling, and reload speed and charge rate. I'm not exactly sure if the charge rate is for the linear, the bow, and the sword, or if it's just for the sword. So later testing, we'll figure all that out. But honestly, just overall, it's a pretty good origin trait. Just doing damage gives you buffs. Now, on top of that, I think if you get the adept version, you do get runneth over. So this is something to point out, because when you're near allies, you can overflow your magazine, which is good. And on some, heavy weapons or DPS weapons in general, this could be very strong. So it honestly has two really good origin traits. Willing Vessel can also stack. It will gradually decrease over time, but it is more effective when near allies. So both origin traits, you want to be near allies. But starting off in the first column for the grenade launcher, you have things like Envious Arsenal. Eddy Current's also good, because this is going to be an arc area denial, which are obviously some of the best grenade launchers in the game. Ambitious, Frenzy, Pugilist, Stats Roll. Even Threat Detector's not the worst, but I would definitely recommend the other ones that I called out. Elemental Honing, which actually is a pretty decent perk. Frenzy, Full Core Gap buff. I don't know exactly if I would take this or not. Rolling Storm's brand new perk, Demo, and Unrelenting is not even terrible. So right off the bat, something like Envious and Elemental Honing or even Frenzy are going to be very, very good for just DPS swapping. Obviously with Envious, it's going to reload the gun. You could go into some sort of DPS rotation, and it's just passively going to do damage, sort of like with the Horde, and you never have to reload it, which is very good. Like this is probably going to be a role a lot of people go for, just to have it if they are having some like arc surge going on. It's been very good. You also have the arc roll, where you can go like Eddy Current and Rolling Storm. So when you're amplified, you're going to get a ton of reload speed, and then also when you're getting kills with Rolling Storm, you're going to be getting bullet charge stacks. Bullet charge stacks also is kind of like a pseudo pugilist, because when you get a bullet charge, you will get some melee energy. And if you're playing into some sort of bolt charge build or just for ad clear, this is going to be very, very good. Rolling Storm is actually like solid, because when you're amplified, you're actually going to get additional bolt charge. This can stack on top of other things in the arc subclass, and you can get a ton of bolt charge just with this one perk alone. But again, that's only if you're really playing into it. If you're not, then it's not that good of a perk. And even just something like Demolitionist to get your grenade energy back is very good, because these obviously get a lot of kills. Pairing that with Stats for all to get your buffs up a lot. You have, or stats, I mean not buffs, but you get handling, reload speed. Literally max it out just at base without anything equipped. Or if you just want to go, demo pugilist, you just literally get energy in general, not even just grenade. You get melee and grenade all the time, which is very, very strong. Again, any reload perk with demo is going to be good. Double, energy perk is going to be good. If you want to play into the arc, or even if you just want to take Rolling Storm with a different reload perk, it'll be good. I'm not too keen on Ambitious Assassin, because the way these grenade launchers work, you can't actually stack the damage. It works just like with the Horde. So if you shoot on one enemy, you can't shoot it on the same enemy again to do more damage. But if you are using the two shots, you can shoot over here, which is good, just immediately real quick. But I think honestly, just taking the reload speed base perk, since you can play into its origin trait as well, like you're gonna just always have your reload speed maxed out. You can get some modifiers or something, some scalers, and it's gonna just reload insanely quick. You're gonna get some energy or even damage. Again, you can also just do it in the classic DPS rotation as well. This one is very good, and it's one I would highly recommend looking out for. Now, next up is going to be the Eyes Unveiled. This is a precision frame linear fusion rifle. It's a void one. We honestly already have a good amount of void linear fusion rifles. We have the one from the Dawning event. We have Doom Petitioner, all those sorts of things. Bunch of good linear fusions in the game. You really can't go wrong with the linear. So this one's going to have some competition. So right off the bat, first column, we do have Overflow, which is a pretty unique perk. You don't see this too much on weapons in general now in the game. Obviously, it's it's been a perk around for a while, but they don't tend to put this on a lot of weapons now for some reason. But you also have Triple Tap, Filt Prep, and it's pretty much it in the first column. But second column, Reservoir Burst, Frenzy, and Withering Gaze are pretty much your only options. Now, again, to point out, you do have the origin traits. I don't know if the charge rate is going to increase the charge time. It's probably not, since it's called charge time, so it's probably just you're going to get the reload speed benefits, which is good, because reloading the gun faster is going to be great. But you also have run it over, so you can actually overflow the magazine, which is good. You can also do this with overflow as well, and you're gonna have a lot of ammo in this mag if you do get one with run it over. Even if you don't, just overflow 10 shots in the mag, you never have to reload the gun because just run over ammo brick, you're going to get a good amount of ammo. You can also pair this with particle reconstruction, and it's going to be very solid. You can pair this with any damage perk. Frenzies of 15% once it's procced, which is very, very nice. You also get all the other benefits of reload and handling. Even if you don't want to take that, low-key reservoir burst would be an interesting option because this is 25% when you're at the top of the magazine. If you have overflow, and especially with run it over, you'll get the magazine even higher with reservoir burst. So at base, the magazine's at 5, so that means with all this combined together, you're at 12. So the first 7 shots of this linear would have that 25% damage increase. Now, the other cool option here is Withering Gaze. Now, since our artifact perks have changed, it's not as easy to weaken now. So if you want to use this kind of as a pseudo support weapon, you could just constantly apply weaken for your other teammates that maybe are running some better heavy options. And this could also be very good. Even if you don't want to go the overflow route, triple taps obviously also very, very solid to keep your ammo up. With particle reconstruction, this is going to be very well paired together. Even field prep to get that, backup ammo reserves. You can crouch. You're going to get a ton of reload speed. Pairing that with the order trait, you'll probably max it out. And overall, it's a pretty decent linear. I don't think it's going to take the cake of being the best linear in the game by any means, depending on how strong some of these origin traits are. If there's ammo lying around, you never have to reload. Overflow is going to be very solid, but I think there are better options, and if you are building into it, maybe just go something like field prep, Withering Gaze, just to make it support. You have a ton of ammo. You can always debuff. It also is just going to do decent damage in general. You're going to get the reload speed for the origin trait. This is probably how I would look out for it, but if you don't have like a good DPS linear or something like bait and switch on it, you have overflow frenzy, overflow reservoir burst. It's an interesting option. I probably would still just go frenzy, triple tap frenzy. All that's going to be very solid as well. Now, next up is the Watchful Eye. This is going to be a 600 round per minute arc machine gun. So in the first column, overflow is the main one that's already sticking out. Mulligan, I guess, is an interesting option. Maybe you compare this to armor piercing rounds, so you can just kind of proc Mulligan a lot. But I wouldn't consider that like super meta or anything. Field prep for a bunch of ammo is nice, and even edit current for reload speed's good since today's arc. Also wellspring for energy. Jolting feedback in the second column, which could be interesting. Rolling storm again, killing tally, elemental honing, surrounded low key, Taria lock for some, I guess, single target shenanigans, and the sword logic. So it's got some pretty stacked perks. Now, in the first column, typically machine guns are used for ad clear. Yes, there are some setups, I guess, where you can use it for boss DPS, but they're still not going to be as good as other options in the game. So I would definitely lean into the fact that you want to play into ad clear with these. So having overflow with 52 is going to actually bring this up to 104. You can put a backup mag on. You have 132 rounds in this thing. Again, you never have to reload. If you do just pick up an ammo brick, it keeps special or heavy, and it loads it back up to 132. It is very, very strong. Overflow is one of the best perks on machine guns. It's not even on that many machine guns. Shout out to the 21% delirium. And this could potentially be very, very good. Even if you enhance it, it will actually get a little bit more, which is great. But say you don't want to go the overflow route. Let's just say you want to do something else. You want to go for energy, you can go for a wellspring. Just that literally will pair with anything. If you're going for a pure arc build, you can go eddy current, jolting feedback. That's going to be very good. Obviously for just applying jolt, proccing eddy current, and get amplified. If you want to go just having a lot more ammo, if we take a look here, we turn field prep on, you're going to have 371 in reserves. That is a ton of ammo to play around. You also will get your reload speed up when you crouch. Pair this with any damage perk like kill and tally. It is going to be disgusting. Things like Shrine, it's also very good. Sword logic, elemental honing, even jolting feedback. Like all these ad clear perks are good. Now you could also go overflow, kill and tally as well. Just again, you never have to reload, so you're going to keep this damage buff up all the time. But this again is going to kind of fall into, I guess, just machine gun power creep, kind of like I talked about in my vlog video. There's already just so many good machine guns out there. Commemoration, Song of Very Good, the list goes on and on. A Hammerhead, and if you have any of those that are very good, you probably don't need this new one. I don't really particularly see anything that stands out unless something's going to pair crazy with the origin trait. It does have jolting feedback, so it truthfully does have overload, which I guess is nice compared to some of the other ones that I just named. That and overflow jolting feedback could be very solid. I don't think it's going to again overtake any of the other machine guns that we have. But if you don't have a good machine gun, or maybe you just want to switch it up and have a different arc one, besides Salt and Give Good, it is 600 RPM. I'd definitely keep it out for this one. It is good. But next up is Adamantite. So this is a strand healing auto rifle. It's going to be a 600 round per minute. And what this one's interesting compared to the no hesitation, because it will actually unravel when you heal enemies. So now you can just essentially apply unravel all the time. You don't have to have ability cooldown or anything of the sort. So that's already on its own, making it very good. Now, again, classic origin traits, but in this first column, since this is a support weapon, there's going to be a little bit more perks to point out. First one being reciprocity. I think I said that correct. Slice is also going to be a great option to just sever targets. On top of that, if you're going for ad clear, subsistence is going to be good. Demo pugilist if you're playing into any builds. Elemental honing, hatchling, these are good ad clear perks, especially if you're playing into a threatening build. You also have things like tear, which is a new perk, attrition orbs, which has some interesting interactions, and frenzy. And I guess kill clip, frenzy is probably going to be the better overall pick. Now, this first column, so now when you heal projectiles, you will also receive a small amount of healing. So this is great. You're healing your teammates. You're also healing yourself. It kind of works like the other perk on no hesitation that grants restoration. I don't know which one's going to be better, because obviously restoration, just granting yourself restoration, is good. But this is just great. I mean, you literally could just heal while you're healing teammates. There's really not much else to say about that. But since it is a support weapon, again, you can use Slice to sever when you use your class ability, which is good. I don't know how strong, I guess, this will be. There are a lot of artifact perks that's based around sever, so this could be pretty good. Again, subsistence for ad clear, just so you can constantly have your ammo up. But demo pugilists are going to be great, because typically, I guess, if you are playing into like a support frame weapon, you're going to have your abilities do a lot of damage, so getting them back faster is going to be good. You could also pair demo, with things like hatchling if you're playing into a threatening build. You could also get pugilist and maybe even something like frenzy if you're playing into something like Madagodoxia, or I guess just any other, strand melee build. But you do also have things like tear, so precision final blows will cause your targets to become severed. You could pair tear with slice, just have the ultimate support weapon. You're constantly debuffing targets. On top of that, you're also going to be healing your teammates. You're applying unravel for your team. This thing has a lot going on for it. There's really nothing you can go wrong with this. Again, if you're playing into a threatening build, you have something like hatchling. If you just want a damage build, you have things like frenzy, subsistence, anything like that. And if you just want to play into what the gun is, tear slice is good. Even having the healing perks also good, so you can heal yourself. And it's honestly pretty solid. I think I don't know if it's going to overtake no hesitation. It definitely is going to compete with no hesitation, probably for the fact that being this like the only other one. But it is good. And if you are playing into a support build, say something like Speaker Sight Warlock, which I actually did just put a build out if you all like to go watch, but it's going to be solid. So next up is the Abyssal Edge. Now this is like, I think the last one that you're supposed to be able to get in the game right now. But I think you can get lucky and just actually get the other weapons right now too. So it's just wanting to point that out. So starting off, this is going to be a waveframe sword. So you're probably going to use this for ad clear, which I think kind of already is making it a little lackluster, because if you're using ad clear heavy, you're probably just using a machine gun. But it's still, we could take a look at its perks here. So right off the bat, it looks like it has the classic sword perks: Relentless Strikes, Tireless Blade, Duelist Trance. You're not going to be able to go wrong with any of these. I'm pretty sure Flash Cannon is also not even the worst perk in the game. But you also have things like Hatchling, Elemental Honing, On Guard. I mean, again, just another classic sword perk. Sword Logic on a sword, which is funny. I guess Redirection's interesting. Surrounded's obviously decent, and Demo, I guess, is okay. So there's some decent perks here, but again, if you're going into ad clear, you're probably going to go with things like Surrounded, Relentless Strikes. You could just constantly just melee a bunch of enemies, kill them. The redirection is interesting because I guess you could like damage all the rank of Falcon combatants with the base attack, then you could use the waveframe to do your damage on the major, and you would do a lot more damage, which is nice. Again, you can even go Sword Logic for a damage bonus. On Guard, I guess, is also decent, but if you're playing into the waveframe, you do also have things like Duelist Trance, so you will increase the charge rate to get that waveframe back. You also do have Willing Vessel, so you'll get the charge rate back. So I guess if you just want to spam and play into spamming your waveframe all the time, you can even go Tireless Blade, so you get the sword ammo back every other power kill. It's going to be very, very solid. I don't think this is going to, again, overtake any other sword we have in the game. Definitely not DPS wise, unless I'm completely wrong. And honestly, I hope I am. I hope there's some like crazy interaction or something that comes out with this. But just off the bat, like, This sword, it just seems okay. Like I think if you have other swords, kind of like the machine guns, uh, the power creep is set in, and I don't particularly think you need anything on here. But it's there if you get it. All right, but now we're going to get into the other weapons that actually kind of, I guess, are available if you get lucky, but they're not supposed to be available right now. But first up is the Mirror Imago. So this is going to be a 900 round per minute strand SMG. So there's not that many, I guess, strand SMGs in the game. There's the one for Salvation's Edge. It's very good. So this is probably going to be its main competition. In its first column, we have things like Recycled Energy, Subsistence, Pugilist, and Overflow. In the second column, we're going to have Hatchling, Swashbuckler, Sword Logic, and honestly, that's about it. I guess Unrelenting. So the perk pool is a little limited, but Recycled Energy is a new perk. So when you're getting kills and then reload after, you're going to get energy to your least, cooldown ability. So honestly, pretty solid. Pugilist is always just decent, especially if you play into a melee build. Since it is SMG, you're going to be very close range. Maybe you are going to be playing into some crazy melee build. You compare that with Swashbuckler, and you could have some interesting setup here. Now, you could also just go Overflow, pair that with any other damage perk like Sword Logic, and this is also just be a solid SMG. As you see, with Overflow active, you'll get to like 72 in the mag at base, which is very, very good. With the Origin traits as well, that could be pretty solid. Hatchling, I guess, if you're playing into some sort of threatening build, but there's a bunch of other guns in the game that you can go Hatchling with an ability energy perk like Demo or Pugilist, but I guess you do have Recycled Energy here, so it could be potentially pretty good. You just have to like play around the fact that you would only want to throw a certain ability, but overall, I mean, I guess it's decent. And even if you want to go Subsistent Sword Logic just to spray down a lot of enemies, I mean, it is strand, so I mean, you could be able to slay out with this thing. I don't think it's going to be particularly anything crazy. Honestly, it seems like more of a PvP weapon to me, with things like target lock and movement target or something like that. But it's not terrible. I mean, even like Overflow Unrelenting isn't the worst. You get health back, and you never have to reload. So again, there's just a bunch of other SMGs in the game that I think are going to be better than this, but it is a 900 strand, and they are pretty rare. So if you do have something like this, it could be decent. Now, next up is Refusal of the Call, and this one's a little bit more exciting because this is going to be the first ever Stray Glaive. There's literally nothing else in the game like it, so just on its own right there, I would definitely try to get one of these things. Now, if you have the rake angle, it is a stasis glaive, so it can go in your primary slot, but this one is strand, so if you want to get a strand damage one. So first column, Impulse Amplifier, which is like always just a staple glaive perk. Slice, you also have Envious Assassin, Replenishing Aegis, Discord, which I guess is an interesting one, and auto loading, I guess it's okay. We do have a new perk, Melee Momentum. I probably wouldn't recommend Vorpal, but Unstoppable Force, Sword Logic could be decent, close to melee. Disruption Break could be fun, and I mean, Beacon Rounds is on here, but I definitely wouldn't recommend that. So starting off in the first column, Impulse Amplifier is just a classic. It increases the projectile, you get a bunch of reload speed. It is like almost mandatory to have this in PvP, but even in PvE, it's very solid. Slice is good, especially if playing into a class ability. You can constantly sever with the weapon. On top of that, you do have Envious, so if you're getting kills with something else, you can swap to it. The weapon's going to be Overflow, which is nice, so you really are never going to have to reload the glaive, which is a very, very strong thing. Replenishing Aegis, so blocking is going to refill your gun from reserves. You can pair that with Unstoppable Force, you're going to get the damage, and you could have a glaive that's going to actually do a pretty solid, just shooting damage. Discord, so you could have infinite ammo if you do swap to it after something else. And then, again, auto-loading, pair it with, like, literally anything over here would be decent. Now, if you're going for pure melee, close to melee is going to be very strong on it. Pair that with Envious or auto loading, so you never have to reload the gun or really worry about the ammo economy of it. You could just solely focus on proccing close to melee and then melee and a lot of things. Disruption Break, I said, was interesting because I guess you could swap to it, break a shield, swap off of it, and do more damage with the kinetic weapon. I don't particularly think that's going to be that strong, but even things like tilting at windmills and melee momentum, so when you get melee final blows, it will actually grant bonus shield energy, and you get movement speed while blocking. This also is going to decrease your movement speed while blocking, so maybe you could just zoom around the map with it. Again, don't think it's going to be that strong, but it sounds pretty funny. But for me particularly, I probably would just go Replenishing Aegis, Unstoppable Force if I'm playing into shoot it, or Envious, close to melee if I'm playing into melee with it. It's totally up to you on how you want to use it. Again, it's kind of just good in the sense because it's like the only thing in the game. It has very similar perks to other glaives. It's kind of like swords. Like, once you have a decent glaive, you don't particularly need anything else. Like, there's nothing that has came out that has like shifted the glaive meta like in a crazy way. Unstoppable Force, Plenty just close to melee. All those are still like the go-to perks. So this thing's not going to treat you wrong. So next up is going to be Division. This is going to be a heavy burst sidearms. This is a 2-round burst for like breach light. So very good. And it's going to be arc damage. Now, in the first column, you have things like Eddy Current. On top of that, Pugilist. And that is really about it for PvE. But in the second column, you're going to have Bolt Shot. You have Kill Clip. You have Sword Logic. Swashbuckler, I guess. And Surround It. So this first column, it's not a lot going on for it. But again, Eddy Current is going to be a very solid reload speed perk because you're going to be permanently amplified. So this is going to be just very good. You're going to get 84 reload speed with a multiplier. So you're going to reload this thing pretty quick. Even if you want to go into a melee build, Pugilist is also good for getting your energy back. I would probably stick with Eddy Current because I think there are some better Pugilist options out there. But hey, if you want this, it's on there and it's pretty good. But I would probably stick with this and play into Arc. So you can play into Volt Shot, having a 2-round burst sidearm, which are very, very good. You're going to be able to reload it very quick. You're going to have Volt Shot, some overloads, do a ton of ad clear. This is going to be solid. Even if you want to pair those things like Kill Clip or Sword Logic, Swash for any other damage perk, Surround It could be good. But I think Volt Shot is going to be the go-to option. If you were a fan of Breach Light from Season of the Plunder, I think this legit might take it over if you do get Eddy Current Volt Shot on it, because I think the benefits will be a lot better. It's a better archetype, in my opinion. Well, I guess the other one is the full auto, so I guess it depends on the one you like. But with this one, you actually will have a better origin trait. So Willing Vessel, again, is also going to increase your reload speed, a bunch of other stats. And honestly, this thing's pretty solid. I don't think this is like going to be like a go-to meta weapon you have to get. But if you don't have a good Volt Shot weapon and, you know, you want to just have, I guess, a decent sidearm, this is pretty solid, especially for Arc. Now, if you're using this in anything else, it's not going to be the greatest because you can't proc Eddy Current. There's really no other reload speed based perk on it. But if you are playing Arc and you want to use a sidearm, I would definitely keep an eye out for this one. And next up is the Afterlight. This is going to be a Void Adaptive Frame Fusion. So right off the bat, I don't think this is going to be anything crazy in PvE because typically the fusions you want to use are rapid fire fusions, but it may be decent PvP. But we'll take a look at the perks for PvE though. So starting off, you do have Left from Goal, which is always one of the best perks in the game. You can get a ton of ammo for it. On top of that, Discord, so you can have infinite ammo. And really, that's about it. I mean, I guess you do have access to Ambition, which kind of got changed recently. Pugilist, maybe. But you do also have access to Reservoir Burst. There's really no reload speed based perk here. I mean, I guess you can Overflow with Ambitious. You get 1 kill, Overflow with Ambitious, reload, and you're going to have like a ton of ammo to constantly keep reprocking Reservoir, which could be good. I don't know how good, but that is a synergy. But in the other column, though, you still have things like Swashbuckler. You compare that with Pugilist. I don't really think you're using this too much on a fusion rifle. I guess Vorpal Corner, you point out, successful warm-up, maybe destabilizing rounds, which did get a pretty massive buff. So maybe if you're playing into some sort of like ad clear fusion with destabilizing rounds, maybe even Left from Goal. The problem here, though, is the reload speed on it really is not that high, and you could just use any other primary weapon and get the same benefit of this fusion rifle. Now, it's not particularly terrible, I guess, but I don't know. I just don't think I can really recommend this that much. I mean, Reservoir Burst, you want to have a large magazine, and again, the only perk that really does that for this is Abyssal Assassin. Stabilizing rounds is good, but again, your primary weapon can kind of just do this. So like, I don't particularly know if I would, want this on here. Successful warm-up, you could charge it up like crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like in the same, it's just adaptive. It can kind of do anything you want to do, but it's not really going to be that good at anything. So I don't know if I can recommend this one. Maybe I'm just blind and I don't see the crazy potential with this thing. But if there is something, definitely be sure to let me know down below. Now, next up is the Anamnesis. Hope I said that right. This is going to be a Void lightweight frame bow. Now, this one is a very, very interesting one. So it's got a lot of good perks. We have things like Archer Tempo, Dragonfly, Successful Warm-Up, Repulsor Brace in the first column. Alongside that, Destabilizing Rounds, Demoralize, which is a new perk, Sort Logic, and Explosive Head. So Arch Tempo is always just a very solid perk on all bows, but if we just ignore that, you do have access to things like Dragonfly for ad clear, and you can pair that with something like the Stabilizing Rounds, and this thing is going to just ad clear like crazy. I mean, you're going to get one headshot kill, you're going to make the explosion, you're going to apply Volatile to everything, which you can then go on to chain more explosions. You get Volatile rounds for it, and this legitimately might be one of the best ad clear bows of the game. Compare this to something like Non-Denouement with Dragonfly Volt Shot. You know, I just have Dragonfly Destabilizing Rounds. And it's also a lightweight, so it does shoot a little bit faster. Now, you also do have access to things like Arch Tempo Explosive Head. If you just want to go that classic, let me just keep shooting the bow on a single target route. It's also very good. Even you even also have things like Dragonfly and Demoralize, so precision final blows will cause nearby targets to become weakened. You also do more damage to nearby targets, so you kind of play to more like a support role. You're going to constantly weaken things, and also the Dragonfly will kill them. Now with this, the Dragonfly might legit just kill the target, so you might not even see the benefits of Demoralize, but I mean, hey, it's another kind of double explosion. But if you're going for just pure explosion and damage, I would definitely go to Stabilizing Rounds. You can even pair the Stabilizing Rounds with Repulsor Brace, so you get the Overshield, and you don't really have to play into any specific void build. You just can literally always get an Overshield. So there's a lot of good things going on for it. Even Successful Warm-Up and a damage perk, you could just kind of ad clear with this a lot. But again, if you are going for ad clear, I would definitely just go Dragonfly to Stabilizing Rounds. This has got to be very, very solid, and 100% one I would keep an eye out for. Again, you also have a decent origin trait for it, and it's going to be very solid. I don't know how Run It Over is going to work on this. I imagine it just won't, but if you can't get this on the Adept one, it'd probably just be a dead origin trait, but with this one, you will get all the other little benefits, which is nice. Now, so that is all of the brand new, like, Heresy, seasonal weapons. The ones I'm very excited for is for sure going to be the combat bow, the grenade launcher. Other than that, there's decent ones. Linear's okay. The machine gun's pretty good. Adamantite, I'm also looking out for this one a lot. So 3, I'm really looking out for. The other ones, I mean, I'll get the Strangglaive, and just that's kind of 4. That's kind of on my tracker. And the other ones are just pretty decent. Afterlight kind of being like the most lackluster in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, there's some decent stuff on these. But we also have a lot of other weapons. We have the Vlog weapons. We have the Dungeon weapons coming out. So I don't know how particularly some of these kind of, like, I guess, midish ones are going to stand up to those. But things like, Psychopomp here, in some of the other ones I talked about, is definitely one I would highly look out for. That's going to do it all for this video. At the beginning, I said I was going to make this a lot shorter, and my record time is currently at 34 minutes. So I definitely failed with that. But I hope this information helps you out a lot. I love making these styles of videos for y'all, just kind of informative videos. So if y'all enjoy, definitely be sure to let me know. I would love to continue making more. I'm going to try to do this for pretty much all the god rolls. You'll see some for the dungeon. You'll probably see some just like for the ritual weapon stuff, the season of the dying weapons, all that stuff. So be on the lookout. I'm gonna be trying to pump out a lot of content for y'all. If you haven't seen the builds I've posted, definitely be sure to go check those out as well. They are absolutely disgusting this season. But anyway, I think that's going to do it all for me. I want to thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope y'all have a great day. Peace.